Hi there and welcome to another Answering Your Questions video. I'm really grateful that I do have some subscribers and I'm really grateful that you ask questions in the comment. I'm in the comments to my videos. I'm aware that I can't always answer in enough depth and detail sometimes. So hopefully if you have asked a question and I've given you a fairly short answer, it might come up today in this and I'll hopefully try and expand on that a little bit. So the first question was to do with why mix in mono first, which was from a recent video that I posted, where I said that I often actually do mix in mono before I do panning. I think probably the simple answer to that is if it sounds okay in mono, it will sound even better in stereo. I think what can often happen with arrangements is that you get different tracks or different instruments too close together or overlapping or just not working well together. And I think there's a tendency often to try and fix that by panning, putting one over there and one over there. And in some instances that works absolutely fine. But if you're mixing in mono, if you're working in mono, I think it encourages you to just try and work out how everything fits together a little bit more accurately. In that sort of mono field, and then when you do get to panning it, it actually makes it even clearer. So it's literally, from my point of view, a case of, well, if it sounds good in mono, it will sound much, much better in stereo. And just making sure that I'm not using panning and stereo to fix a bad arrangement, which is all more than likely that I've done. So it's a sort of fail-safe mechanism on my part, I guess. Okay. Somebody else asked, for some reason, why would you be interested in this? What was your job or background before becoming a full-time music producer? Well, I started, I think it's probably fair to say I've always been a musician, literally from primary school right the way through to where I am now. I started playing the recorder at primary school. And I've still got my recorder books with the letters of the notes underneath wrong, some of them, which is quite funny. By Frida Din, it was, quite appropriately. So I've always been a musician. It's not like I've just started doing music, 6 years ago, which is when I started full time, really. I did music all the way through school. I did a music degree in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, and I also had a career as I was an orchestral brass player, and I taught brass instruments as well. And I then went on to I've done music teaching, and I had a big change a long time ago, and I was a photographer for 20 years. I had my own photography business. That sort of came to its natural end just before COVID, and COVID sort of, I suppose, was the natural finishing point of that. So it was a crossover period for me. And I came back to writing music whenever that was, 6 years ago or something like that. So it's a sort of circuitous route. It's not that I started from scratch 6 years ago. It's that I sort of trained initially and had a bit of a career break, shall we say. Okay, next question. My sync agent here in America is wondering what's going on. He's noticed a change in the past few years because of the strikes and COVID. Many music supervisors have closed up shop and are doing other things. Have you noticed things really slowing down? Also, is AI music being used more by your clients in TV and film? I think to really accurately answer that question, you need to have a really broad view of the industry that I don't have. I mean, I've got a 6-year view, and my experience over that 6-year view, I'm continually building my catalogue, and my placements and earnings have continued to rise during that time, probably because of that. Now, what that would have been like if I'd done that 5 years ago and I was 5 years behind or 10 years behind, I don't know. It may have been that sort of curve rather than that sort of curve. I really can't say. I don't have a big industry overview of many decades to say whether that is true or not. My personal experience is that things are continuing on the up. Now, I think to get an accurate answer to that, you do need to look at, well, Dan Graham is a really, really good example of somebody who has a really good industry overview. If you check him out on Facebook, he does a monthly news updates, and he often talks about the state of the industry. He's got decades of experience. For example, there are others that do talk about, you know, this sort of thing, and they are the people to ask. I think also, I don't really do this, but my sense is, and my memory is that the PRS are forever emailing me saying, well, this is the highest check at the highest payout we've done this time of year, etc., etc. So you can check your PRO, ASCAP or BMI or whatever. Are they paying out more or less than they were doing 2-3 years ago at this in this period? Which will give you a little bit of an overview as well. I think my personal opinion is that, particularly if AI does take over, I think our leisure time will only become more in the long term. People will watch more TV. People will need entertaining, want to be entertained more, whether that is TV, games or film, and music is an integral part of that. So from an optimistic point of view, there's never been a period in time where more TV and film TV is being made than now, broadly speaking. And I'm not saying literally now, because you mentioned COVID and the strikes, but broadly speaking, and that I think will continue. Having said that, there are more composers. The bar is a lot lower. I always think that there's room for everybody. I think if a profession is saturated, it means that it's a good profession to be in. It's a thing that people want to do. Nothing is easy, you know. There's nothing that is desirable is easy or unsaturated. And I think the key is to keep your ear to the ground and be the best music producer you can. The cream will always rise to the top. The bottom end, I think, will disappear due to AI and is possibly starting to do that now. The mid-tier, maybe at some point, but the upper tier of original, whatever that means, composing, high-quality composition, high-quality work, personal relationships, that's not going to go away anytime soon. Next question. When submitting to a new library, do you think it's better to send masters, even if you may not be used to mastering, or a pre-master at -6 dB or so? Okay, so the libraries that I work with, I think without exception, all do their own mastering. And they will ask me to send pre-masters at, -6 dB or -4 dB peak or whatever. When sending, so you're submitting to a new library, I think in the past, I don't know a lot about mastering. I'm not interested in it in the slightest. So I basically run everything through Ozone 9 or whatever it is, and just do a very, very literally a quick rough master, get it to roughly the right sort of level. So it's sort of competing in volume with other things, but I don't worry about it apart from that. I make sure it's really well mixed, because mixing and composing these days go hand in hand. The mastering I'm not too bothered about. I wouldn't really worry about it as long as it's not peaking or anything, or it's like, massively distorting and it's got a decent level on it. Might be wrong. Might be different for different types of different genres. So I tend to submit more orchestral, more instrumental, acoustic type things. If you're submitting, I don't know, EDM or something like that, or something very electronic, actually probably the advice will be different. But from my point of view, it doesn't seem to be really a problem, or something that I've been asked to change or do. It's worked either way. Okay. Next question. In how many days do you finish an album of 8 to 10 tracks? It's not days, dear question asker, it's weeks, if not months. I have a bit of a possibly unusual way of working. I've got 4 albums on the go at the moment, so I don't just work on one album. I suppose, so maybe 4 months, 3 months, 3 months, I would guess, something like that. How long to finish track is maybe what you're asking, and that varies from, for really simple stuff, 4 hours. For something really more complicated with strings or live strings or something more trailer-esque, is there such a word? Trailer-esque, that's a nice word. Of 10, 15 hours. How long is a piece of string? It takes as long as it takes, but I suppose 3 to 4 months is an average from actually agreeing with the library that I'm going to do it, and then delivering the thing later, or them approving it. Then actually there's usually a bit of time to actually get the deliverables together, so maybe another couple of weeks on top of it for that. Hope that's helpful. I've never had a library say, okay, we need this by this time, if that's any help. So my experience is that they will say, okay, can we do this in the first quarter, or can we do this within the next 2 or 3 months? And they are happy to work sort of around you, looking at a sort of quality rather than speed of output scenario. Finally, somebody asked me recently, what are your computer specs? Well, embarrassingly, but maybe encouragingly for a number of people, my computer is really pretty cronky. I can't think how old it is. I think I probably got it to 2017, 2018, which makes it about 8 years old, maybe. It's an i5, it's a PC. It does have 32 gig of RAM in it. I'd upgraded that, and it runs Windows 10 at the moment. Yes, it runs Windows 10. And I haven't had any problems with that. Now, when I'm working in Cubase, seems that it's absolutely fine. I don't seem to get any lag or any sort of problems. It seems to be fine. The only thing where it is slow, I guess, is rendering stuff out. You know, it just, the line is like, you know, it is really, really slow. I also have all my libraries on fast solid state drives, obviously, as well, which speeds up the loading up process. Now, I am well aware that I really do need to upgrade. Why would I need to upgrade? Well, I think, Windows 10 is going out of fashion, for want of a better expression. I think that it will save me a lot of time in the rendering process. I think a new computer would do that quicker. And I suspect that when I start working on a new computer, I'll go, oh God, that old computer was really slow. I don't think you realise until the time, do you? However, the thought and the pain of swapping to a new computer at the moment is what is completely wrecking my head. And it's been something that I've been promising myself I've been meaning to do for about 2 years, and I really must get on and do it. I hope that some of the information in there was helpful. I'm going to I'll do some more track reviews, I think. I did some of those a few weeks ago, if you want to look back and watch those. If you have a track that you would like me to review, I would love to do that for you. Send it to me. I'm not great at... That's what I am good at. I am good at anything sort of orchestral, anything acoustic-y, you know, that sort of vibe. Production music-y, that sort of sound. I'm not your man for EDM or, you know, trap or anything like that, really. I'll have a listen, but I'm not an expert. It's not in my DNA, I'm afraid. Okay, thank you if you made it this far. It would be great to see you in another video. Take care. Bye-bye.